All right, we are live from the Empowered Mom Studios, and today is all about freaking taking action towards our dreams. Because you know what? It's now 2024, and I'm just blown away. I am seriously blown away by the transformation that I have had since I first found my community of friends and my family, my soul family, and started really taking action towards some of my biggest dreams that I thought were impossible to reach, that I would not be able to get to them at the level that I already have. You know, there's a saying about how people overestimate how much they can accomplish in a year and underestimate how much they accomplish in 5 years. And you know what? It's only been 3 years since I really started to take action. But even 2 years before that, like you might have seen me share something earlier about the speech that I did way back in 2023 in January. It was just the incredible journey I've had. So let me just backtrack though, if you haven't seen that. Okay. So where was I at way back in 2018? In 2018, I was just starting to get the idea that in my birth advocacy, what I was doing, I had to do it at my own level. I was working with Improving Birth, and Dawn Thompson, I freaking love you. And thank you so much for all of the support. And Kristen Pascucci, give a shout out to her too, because she actually got on a call with me when I was still just a low-level birth advocate. I wasn't doing much other than just trying to spread word in my community. And I learned how to basically see the systems and what I needed to put in place. And I had a following. It wasn't very big, but I was starting to create that value for people, and I was getting noticed. And I told Kristen back in, I think it was 2015, and I said to her that I wanted to create my own version. Like I wanted to have a chapter of Improving Birth here in Canada, is what my original one was. So back then I was thinking to myself, you know what? They're doing something amazing, and I want to be a part of that. And I want to also like showcase that, but I'm not going to be the brand. I'm just going to prop up their brand. But then I noticed something, is that it was also putting limitations on me to just be under somebody else's brand. I mean, yeah, I can still support them, and I absolutely do. Dawn is working on something else now. She's working on this amazing work, like this coaching of Birthify, this program, what she's creating, this movement. I mean, she's been doing this so much longer than I have, and Kristen's got her birth monopoly. Like they branched out and they have their own brands. Then when they were first just under Improving Birth, they branched out. And you know what? It was in 2018 when my daughter was almost 2 years old, when I recognized that I needed to branch out too. I just didn't know how big it was going to end up being. I thought I was just going to run a mom blog and I was going to keep sharing other people's content over and over again, and that I would just put everybody under my umbrella and just give out that value. In fact, there was a point when I was thinking, I'm going to build a business. This was in 2019. I'm thinking, I'm going to build a business out of this. I'm going to start charging money because people keep bugging me and telling me to charge money for this. I'd spoken to a few doulas. I'd spoken to Gloria LeMay, who is like one of the wise women who has actually trained me for doula certification. Like she gave me my certificate. She gave me a lot of a kick, basically. And a lot of the women that she's trained also gave me a really big kick and told me that I needed to do more than what I was doing as a birth advocate, that I was a doula at heart, that I was also a coach. And so that really started pushing me in that direction. I'd written a blog post back in 2019, and then something happened that had them just like the medical community got their panties in a twist is what happened. And they thought that the midwife had actually put me up to it. Now, there was nothing wrong with this post other than the fact that I said that having birth houses would be revolutionary and it would get women out of the hospital system and they wouldn't have that restriction on them when they wanted to have a VBAC, a vaginal birth after cesarean, and they wouldn't have to play by the medical system's rules. So, okay, maybe that was a little of a problem. I can see how a controlling organization might find that as a problem, especially since they kind of need that industry to work a certain way, but it wasn't serving the moms. So of course I'm going to point out where it's not serving the moms. It sure as heck didn't serve me. I almost got pushed into a C-section. I almost got pushed into an induction. I got tricked out of my home birth. I was good and mad. Okay. I was good and mad way back after I had my son in 2013 and started this journey as a birth advocate and decided that I was going to create this mom blog of empowering moms. And I was going to put my stuff out there. And then to be told I had to pull that article, that's when I got really mad. And I said, birth advocacy is for all of us. And I had that article. And if you want to hear that one, I actually read it on my Instagram. Just go to @empoweringmomsbirth. I will eventually put like, they're all structured. It was way back in the summertime. I might drop the link later, but I'm going to be streamlining that channel at some point so that you'll actually be able to see like the cards and it'll tell you what each video is. So you don't have to scroll through millions of things. But, you know, first things first, I got plans this year. I got so many plans of what I'm going to create, both in my personal life and in my professional life and in what I'm creating as a legacy. I got the ball rolling way back in 2020 when I said, that is it. I am so fed up. I was in a relationship that had just run its course. It was getting toxic. It was getting abusive. It was getting volatile. And it was crushing my absolute soul to the point that I had actually at one point, and this is kind of hard to admit, but at one point when my daughter had just been born, I had written a letter that I'd never sent to my partner at the time, but had basically given him like, I'm going to make a deal with you because obviously I'm just not good enough and I'm just a failure and I'm a bad wife and I'm just no good. So my kids are better without me. You're better without me. The world is better without me. And I'll make you a deal because I don't want to live here anymore on this planet. I don't want to live here. I don't want to live anymore. But I just had a baby and I need to breastfeed her. So then after she's weaned off, I'll end it then. So just stick with me for 2 more years and then I'll end it. I'll end it all. I'll just be gone because there's nothing important about me. Like there's nothing. Breathe through that, hey? Heavy stuff, right? Have you ever felt in that moment that something doesn't actually matter? Anything that you're doing, it's not working. Nobody is supporting you. Nobody is recognizing your power. And there's like, you're just like, I'm better off. Like people would be better off without me. Has that ever happened to you? You hit that point in your life and you're just like, nothing's working and I might as well give up. I mean, that happened to me a lot. It happened to me even during my birth with my son, because there was a moment when I was laying on that hospital bed and they were doing everything to try and get me to get that baby out. But at the same time, there was that feeling in the room of like, she can't do it. And then in that moment, I got good and mad and I said, oh, hell no, you are not cutting me. You are not doing those things to me. And before that, I had been like, maybe I should give up. But after that, I'm like, oh, hell no, you're not going to do that to me. There's no freaking way you're going to do that to me. And I got my fire. And it was soon after writing that letter and reading it back to myself, I was like, no, WTF, no. How could I say that about myself? How could I do that? No, I've got to figure this out. So first I told him multiple times like, hey, this is abuse and you need to change it. And that didn't work. it just got worse. It just kept getting worse. It would get better for a while. He would act right. And then eventually the mask would slip and he'd go back into his pattern. This was going on over and over and over again. And it was really chipping away at my self-worth and my ability to do what I wanted to do, which was create this blog at the time. It was just a blog. And I'm like, I just want to help moms, but I'm so tired. I don't have the energy to do all of the things. I'm trying to raise these kids on my own with my partner constantly working, and he never wants to come home. And when he finishes work, he wants to go out and party. He doesn't want to be home with me because we're just not a good fit anymore. There wasn't anything really wrong with him. I'm going to say that right now because like I've healed that relationship with my ex, and he's a great dad, and he's doing good work. Okay. So I don't want you to villainize him. Okay. We all have those moments when we're doing things that we're not proud of, but we're stuck in some area. So I'm not going to say that everybody who is ever mean or yells or is horrible in some way, they're hurting inside. And my ex was really, really hurting, and I was hurting, and it just wasn't a good fit. We didn't have those values match. And I recognized that. I started to see that my path was deviating from what he wanted, but I wasn't going to let go. Well, here's the thing about not letting go when the universe is pushing you in a direction that you need to go. There comes a point where you keep hearing the call. It's like when you are like in a hero's journey, like Spider-Man, or like I use that analogy with my son. I'm like, well, with Spider-Man, he heard the call. He used his superpowers as a wrestler, but then he was supposed to catch the bad guy and he didn't catch him. And then the bad guy went and killed his uncle. So it's like with great power comes great responsibility. Well, I had a great power that had transformed through me over the years. Like I just hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen my great power. And then when I started to have I had that empowered birth experience. And that moment when I said, oh, hell no, I'm going to have my son naturally, and I'm not going to let anybody push me around. Even though I had some trauma from that, I still took my power back. And with my daughter, it was the same thing. I took my power back. And when you have a true natural birth experience and you experience that wave of hormones, you actually do transform. It's just, I don't know. It's just, there's something magical about tuning into your body and truly like feeling your feelings and letting the waves wash over you and going through that transitional experience and just letting it wash over you and then getting to the other side that just transforms you. I've seen it in all of my clients. Like I thought that it was just like a fluke with me. But then when I started teaching this system to my clients back in 2020 and 2021, 2022, 2023, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, there is something here. And in 2020, I decided I was going to write my book, and I did. I took advantage of the pandemic after my house had burned down. You've heard that story before. If you don't, then go back and watch some of my other stuff because I talk about this a lot. I wasn't letting go of my partner. And a lot of stuff happened that caused the universe to say, that's it, we're burning your house down. And I remember looking at the flames and all my stuff that I was working on to build this business, and it all just went up in smoke. And I'm like, I can rebuild this. I can rebuild it better. So I did. I've got empoweringmomsbirth.com now. I got my book, Your Empowered Birth. I've done this. And you know what the secret was to how I was able to go from, I can't do this. There's no way anybody would pay me for this. There's no way that I'm special. I should just be off this mortal coil because there's nothing for me. I'm not going to have a true love relationship. I'm not going to have an inspiring like business and career and legacy. I'm never going to have a book published. Like, what am I doing? I'm just going to be this low-level stay-at-home mom who just gives up all her dreams. And I'm just like, I'm dead inside. I felt like I was dead inside. I wake up every morning and I just want to go back to bed. I'd be like, I don't want to be here. But my children, my little lights, you've seen them, they kept me going because I'm like, if there's one thing I know is I can't leave them behind. And I also can't leave the moms behind because then who's going to help them? So I had two things. I had my children as my purpose, and I had this dream, this impact that I really wanted to make. Because as I said, I got good and pissed off when I found out what was going on. And I'm like, this is not right. Women should all be able to experience this beautiful transformative transition into motherhood. We shouldn't be traumatized. This is not okay. Like, why should we be welcomed into motherhood or re-welcomed into motherhood with more children and constantly be re-traumatized by the system? No, I'm done with that. I'm seriously done with that. Something has to be done. And in 2020, when everything shut down, there was a lot of moms that were feeling like they just wanted to have a home birth, but home birth wasn't available. Like the midwives weren't allowed to do it. And some moms were like, that's it, I'm going unassisted, but they didn't know how. And I'm like, you know what? I think everybody needs to know how to do an unassisted birth because you never know. I mean, with my daughter, I ended up calling the midwife at the last possible minute. I might have birthed Michaela completely on my own, but I was like, I've got this. My ex-partner was freaking out. He's like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. Oh no. Oh my gosh, there's a head. What do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, go into the other room, talk to the doula, get the midwife on the phone. I got this. Like, I got this. Now, was it fair that I didn't have my partner there to actually hold me during that? Because that's like the most beautiful transformative moment. No, that wasn't fair. But you know, that's coming. I know that my true love is on his way, and I know that I'm going to have a beautiful experience again, and I'm going to have more babies because I want more. Who cares that I'm 38? I've been helping women who are in their 40s have more babies. So I know I got time, so I'm going to do that. But you know what? The thing is that when I really recognized, first of all, this is bigger than me. I need to stay here and do this. I started moving one step at a time. You know that Frozen 2 with Anna, when she's sitting there and she's lost Elsa and she's crying and she's in despair and she's like, take a step, and I step again. This is all that I can do to do the next right thing. So I just kept doing the right next thing over and over and over again. The fire hit. And then it's like, okay, I'm back with this partner and I know it's not working and I'm getting humiliated and I'm getting hurt and I'm being crushed, but I'm just going to keep taking those steps back to myself. And I joined a mastermind. It was called the Transforming Birth Luminaries. There was a group of doulas and they said to me, you're a coach. And when I heard those words, you're a coach, and they said, get your book out there. I wrote my book over the summer, the 90,000 word behemoth. And then I started looking into coaching. And I looked into creating courses and I looked into creating self-publishing. And that got me on email list after email list after email list. And then what happens is when you take action towards your dreams, that's when the teachers appear. That's when the support arrives. That's when the answers arrive. And that's what happened to me in 2020, in November, when I was all burnt out on webinar after webinar after webinar. Then, after I got off of a call with the Transforming Birth Luminaries, I was going to lay down in my bed and rest. And as I was scrolling, a friend of mine, Joanna, thank you, Joanna. I love you so much. You put me on my path. You helped me with this. But she had tagged me in a challenge. And she tagged me in the video for that challenge. And I saw this most amazing man who was just talking about what he was wanting to create with the impact of what he and his partner, his business partner, my good friend and mentor, Eben Pagan, what they were creating. And he said, you'll meet him later, but let me just talk about this. And then he went and he was interviewing one of the authors of a book that I had in my collection. And then he's like, I've got Jack Canfield. I'm like, Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Oh my gosh. But I mean, this guy was also like incredible. And he was only 2 years older than me. And it just seemed to me, it's like, wow, he's got a map. And I want to learn from him because I just see so much of what I can create. I feel this impact that I meant to have. And this is why I have my 5-pillar system too, because you need to have the right mindset. You need to be able to get past your fear. And you need to also have the right education. You need to learn that other people have done this before you. And you need to also recognize how to do it. And my mentors, of course, have taught me so much. And I got into connection through others through this man, this amazing man. And he knows who he is. And I will mention his name at some point, but others who are in connection with me know who he is. And like, I'm not going to reveal anything yet, but this is just so incredible because then we had the right environment. There was like suddenly this fertile environment where there were people around me that all were sharing ideas from books that they had read. I would never have been able to read an entire library and get all of that knowledge. And it was all suddenly being imparted through these interviews and through this challenge and through this amazing man. And then on top of that, the community itself and the mentors. And then that's the 4th pillar, which is, of course, the right facilitators. I knew they knew their stuff. And I was looking at them all and I'm like, okay, this is great. This is like awesome. This is a lot of value. But where's the women? And then, oh my gosh, what can I say about the feminine aspect that was brought into this community with my dear friend and mentor, Annie Lala, who is the embodiment of love and heart-centered coaching. And I'm like, this is it. This is my girl. This is my girl. I love her. And like, you might have seen the video when I talked about how I found Annie and Eben, and I'm like, I just knew. But I also saw their dynamic. And I'm like, that also ties into pillar number 5, which is the right support, not just from your family and friends, but also from your true love partnership. And that is the moment that I realized the one I was with was not the right support. That's why it took so long for me to get to my dreams. That's why it was so hard for me to do it, because I didn't have that person that could be like, babe, you can do anything. And I actually do stand for your dreams. Now, of course, he said you can do anything. But the second I got too high, he would kind of push me back down and remind me that I was a housewife. And I had to be the housewife first. So he's like, you can do anything you put your mind to it, as long as you stay in this container. Now, again, not making him wrong, because the whole point of a relationship is like you are growing in that relationship, just like when you're growing in your family, and it gets to be a point where that container is just not going to fit you anymore. It was great when you needed it, but now you're no longer a little caterpillar. You're no longer able to be in your cocoon. You need to transform into a butterfly. You need to break out of it. You need to break out of that cocoon and you need to go fly with the other butterflies. And I shared a video yesterday with me and Michaela, and we were dancing about spread your wings, my little butterfly. I don't know where she's going to end up. What I do know is this: I have this gift right now to support her in whatever she's doing, and I'm going to be that right support. But when it comes time for her to fly and spread her wings, I'm going to let her go. I'm going to let her do that. I'm going to be cheering for her. Even if it means that she transcends me, I'm still going to cheer for her. I'm not going to tell her to get back on the ground and be a caterpillar. I'm going to support her in that. So there's 2 components here. You've got to have that 5 pillar of support, and you have to take action. Because when you take the action steps, you have that mindset and you use that 5 pillar system, that is how you get everything that you could ever dream possible. When you keep taking action towards your dreams, that's going to help manifest everything you want. And that's what I did. When I saw the community, I'm like, I want to learn from them. I may not be able to afford the program that they are teaching at the time. It was called Virtual Coach. They now have branched out and they've got a bigger program now. And it's like this whole tiered system. It's incredible what they've done even in the last 3 years. And I already thought it was incredible 3 years ago, but now it's like even transcended that, what they're doing now. But I'm like, I want to learn from them. I can't afford this program. There's no way. But there was something else called Startup Club at the time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to jump into this one. And I got another mentor that I got to learn everything from. And I took action there too. It was I call him my twin brother, Warren McKee. He's just awesome. I freaking love him. And he's doing AI now. So if you've got any questions around AI, he's my man. So like, he's my bro. I can connect you with him. But like, it was just having that support in that community. And then rising to the ranks, getting into virtual coach over the summer after leaving my ex. And then in the fall, I jumped back into virtual coach after graduation. And I met Donald. I finally met my soul dad, Donald Stojak, who's also been incredible. I did some interviews with him last year. We do this thing called, we basically, he talks to interesting people. He's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. I've got 2 videos on there. You can see them. And, you know, he also was helping me and making sure I had that incubator of support. And then when he realized that I needed to grow some more and I was resisting, instead of like keeping me stuck, he's like, I'm kicking you through the door to the next one. It's like a bird kicking their baby birds out of the nest. And it's like, you got to fly now. You got to go somewhere else. And he kicked me out of the nest. Still, I got to stay in the container with him and still stay in connection with him. But he also kicked me through a door into Virtual Coach Accelerator. And then he keeps propelling me because that is the kind of support you need from your friends. That is the kind of support you need. And if you're not getting it, that means you are now in a box that is too small for you. You need to take action. I know it's scary. If you need to know the map on how to get past your fear to actually take action, when those huge opportunities hit you and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, you know to talk to me, okay? Like I'll help you through that. And the thing is like when you take that action and you have that 5 pillars of support system created, that foundation, you can do it. You can face your fears. You can go and get that education. You can go into that environment. You can get those mentors and you can get that support. And that is what I am embodying in all of my programs and what I'm teaching. I'm building something phenomenal this year. And I recorded for my masterclass just recently. I got to go and grab my kids in a few seconds. So I got to wrap this up. But when you take action towards your dreams, even if they're a little intimidating, even if they're a little scary, you know, it's just when you do it, suddenly all of those roadblocks, you realize there's steps. All of those obstacles that were in your path, like having your blog post pulled, or maybe it was like in a relationship, something didn't work out and you got a divorce and you're like, well, what the hell? Like relationships don't work. Or like maybe your house burns down. It's actually a stepping stone to your next level. So don't be afraid of those setbacks. Don't be afraid of those challenges. Don't be afraid when things don't work out, because you just might find that there's something else incredible waiting for you on the other side. And you just had to break out of your cocoon and realize you're a butterfly. All right, I got to go get my kiddos from school and love on them. But thank you so much for watching. And remember, when you take action towards your dreams, they manifest. So I'm just going to ask you a question. What are you going to take action towards in 2024 or even in this week? I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.